Growing tensions across college campuses nationwide, raising some new questions about how to handle politics in the workplace and the implications for recruiting the next generation of talent. Joining us right now is Michal Lev-Ram, the Fortune editor-at-large, who has covered technology in Silicon Valley for more than a decade. Good morning to you. I think we're all trying to figure out what the implications of this are, whether companies are going to ultimately hire either some of these protesters. By the way, there's a number of CEOs actually saying that they think that they would love to hire somebody who's active and passionate about things, and then others who say, I would never want to hire any of these people.
Yeah, I think different strokes for different folks. You're definitely seeing a variety of reactions to this, but it's interesting that just as things are heating up so much politically across campuses and across the country, of course, spurred on by the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and sort of the current iteration of the conflict. Silicon Valley, at least, is, a lot of companies are actually retreating from being really out there politically. And that's what we've seen at Google just recently, Meta going back, a couple of years ago. And I think that's actually more of the position of a lot of Silicon Valley companies.
So do you remember there was a moment probably 2 or 3 years ago after, I think, the murder of George Floyd, where Brian Armstrong, who ran Coinbase, came out with what seemed like a very, it was controversial at the time, view that politics should not be in the office, there should not be social causes discussed, companies should not be engaged in pushing for social causes and the like. And to be honest with you, there were a lot of people who seemed outraged about that position. Now it seems that that position has become increasingly the norm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Brian Armstrong from Coinbase was completely vilified for asking employees to keep politics out of the workplace. This was in 2020 after George Floyd was killed. And there was a huge push among a lot of employees in tech companies, not just in Silicon Valley, for their employers to take a stand. There was another smaller company, Basecamp, that held the same position. We don't want, there's a time and a place for political and social activism. We don't want it on our corporate channels and in the workplace, because both companies felt that it was becoming very, very divisive and distracting. And it was even creating so many divisions that there were people on teams that didn't want to work together. So, that's how, that's how much of an issue it becomes.
But so how have we swung so far from this idea that, management used to say, oh, my goodness, we need to listen to our employees. We have to have a mission and we have to have a social purpose. And, our customers are increasingly looking to us for political, at least, or not political guidance, but, where we stand as a company and who we are, to now saying we don't want to be anybody, actually. We just want to we just want to make our product and do our thing.
Yeah. By the way, I think there always there was a contingency of employees and of leaders who just wanted to program and code. Not everybody wanted their company to take a stand on, a variety of issues. But yeah, absolutely, there's been a shift. I think that there's been a bit of mission creep, literally and figuratively. I mean, it is mission, right? And what started as, especially in Silicon Valley companies who had all these, values, who had these big mission statements. I mean, Google, don't be evil, and then do the right thing, which they kind of, transitioned to. But these really big, broad statements allowed for mission creep. So, even if going back a few years, it made a lot of sense for them to take a stand on of course we're for equal rights. Of course we want our world, our Earth to be saved and to be protected. And then, fast forward to today, well, does that mean that these companies are also expected to take an anti-Israel stance? Does that mean that they're supposed to back out of a contract with the Israeli government, which is what Google employees were agitating for? No, right. That's against their core business.
In a country like this right now, Michal, I mean, it's either 49-49 with 2 in the middle, or I don't know what it is on all these issues. And why would anyone in their right mind try to pick who's going to buy more sneakers? That's Michael Jordan. It just will last forever. Republicans buy sneakers too. I'm not getting involved, and that's what we finally. That's where we've arrived, because not everything is as simple as equal rights for all. There are other issues that half the country really feels very strongly about, that it is the opposite of what the other half of the country feels strongly about. So how do you know which side to weigh in on? And why do it if you're going to lose half of your customers?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's the customers, there's also the employees, right? And I think when it comes to Silicon Valley companies in particular, they've skewed younger in terms of the employee base. I mean, that's a statistic, for many companies that's out there, and we see the political skew of younger generations, right? I mean, look at what's going on college campuses. Not that everybody is out there protesting, of course. You still have a variety of viewpoints that are absolutely not being, broadcast out there, and they're not necessarily the loudest voices. But I do think that with Silicon Valley companies, it was almost this like natural inertia, to skew politically in a certain direction. But again, it got out of whack, and we are seeing. We're seeing.
I can only imagine if you left them alone and to weigh in on this Israeli Hamas. I don't even want to know where they'd come down. That doesn't change the fact, though, that 80%. It hasn't changed polling. 80% of Americans are behind Israel on this, and all this stuff that's been going on. None of that has changed. It didn't.
I don't think you'd actually find that on the polling out there would be on the other side of that.
All these young people, they're the same ones that are out.
I don't know, Michal, but you might feel differently. There's reports now, Elon Musk, David Sachs, all these guys are putting together
Musk is
fundraising efforts.
He's
on behalf of Trump.
He moved to Texas for a reason. He's the anti-Silicon Valley. The rest of them, Zuckerberg, he's probably in one of those tents.
I'm not so sure.
Probably in that tent.
I'm not so sure about that.
He's not in a tent. Maybe a nice yurt. Maybe.
He wishes he was. He's thinking about it.